you did it, 22 years old.
My whole life was a lack.
Experience.
When you see me running around on the field and flipping in the air, that's the experience.
It was like having Barry Sanders back there as your quarterback.
The first day I walked into prison and that heavy door slammed shut behind me, I finally understood the full weight of the choices I'd made, the poor judgment, the pain I caused, not just to myself, but to so many others. I cried many nights alone in that cell, overwhelmed by guilt and regret. This wasn't just anyone speaking, it was Michael Vick, once the NFL's most electrifying quarterback. A generational talent with blazing speed, a cannon for an arm, and a $130 million contract to match. A man who had redefined the quarterback position, now reduced to a prison inmate, bankrupt, disgraced, and written off by nearly everyone. His crime? Running an illegal dogfighting ring. The fallout was swift and brutal. Lost endorsements, lost contracts, lost freedom. It looked like the end. But this isn't just a story about how fast someone can fall. It's about how far someone is willing to climb back. In one of the most unexpected twists in sports history, Vick would later call prison the best thing that ever happened to me. Behind those steel bars, stripped of fame, fortune, and the roar of the crowd, he faced the truth. He began the long journey of rebuilding his life, on and off the field. So how does someone go from hero to villain and back again? Can a man who lost everything rise to inspire millions? This is the story of Michael Vick's rise, fall, and extraordinary comeback. From the moment he picked up a football at age 7, Michael Vick was different. Growing up in the tough streets of Newport News, Virginia, his raw talent turned heads fast. By high school, Vick wasn't just another promising athlete, he was a phenomenon. He threw for nearly 5,000 yards and rushed for over 1,000, a rare dual-threat combo that left defenses guessing and scouts in awe. Then came Virginia Tech, and the legend began to take shape. As a redshirt freshman, Vick led the Hokies to an undefeated regular season and a spot in the national championship game. Whether launching bombs downfield or slicing through defenders on the ground, he played with a style no one had ever seen from a quarterback before. In 2001, the Atlanta Falcons made Vick the #1 quarterback, first overall pick in the NFL draft. At just 6 feet tall, short by quarterback standards, he was still impossible to ignore. His speed, his arm, his vision. He wasn't just a gamble, he was the future. By his second season, Vick was the Falcons' full-time starter, and he didn't disappoint. On December 1st, 2002, he rushed for 173 yards in a single game, setting an NFL record for quarterbacks. His 46-yard overtime touchdown, the longest sudden death score ever by a quarterback, cemented his place as one of the most electrifying players in football. And he wasn't done. In 2006, Vick shattered another barrier, becoming the first quarterback in modern NFL history to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season. He averaged a jaw-dropping 8.4 yards per carry, while leading the Falcons alongside running back Warrick Dunn to become only the 4th team since 1920 with 2 1,000-yard rushers in a single season. Looking back on those years, Vick said, "Once I decided football was the way for me, there was no looking back. Nothing was going to distract me." And even later in his career, reflecting on how far he had come, he admitted, "I'm probably better than I ever was in my career, as far as the mental aspect of the game." Michael Vick wasn't just a quarterback. He was a revolution, a player who broke the mold and redefined what the position could be. With every snap, every run, every impossible throw, he lit up the game like no one else. Then came the scandal that didn't just rock the NFL, it shattered it. Michael Vick, the NFL's ultimate game changer, was suddenly at the center of a nightmare no one saw coming. Behind the flash and fame, away from the cameras and highlight reels, Vick was running something horrifying. Beginning in 2001, he and his associates, Quannas Phillips, Tony Taylor, and later Pernell Peace, set up a secret dogfighting operation on his Surry County, Virginia property. They called it Bad News Kennels. It wasn't just illegal, it was brutal, merciless, inhumane. For years, dogs were bred, tortured, and forced into savage fights. where losing meant death by drowning, electrocution, or hanging. If they didn't perform, they were executed. No second chances, no mercy. And at the center of it all was one of the NFL's brightest stars. Then, in April 2007, the illusion shattered. Police raided Vick's property. What they found was staggering. Over 60 pit bulls, many showing signs of abuse, bloodstains, chains, equipment designed for training dogs to kill. This wasn't just some minor bust. It was the unraveling of an entire underground criminal operation, tied directly to a superstar athlete. By July 2007, federal charges came down like a hammer. Vick and his co-defendants were indicted for conspiracy to engage in dogfighting, training fighting dogs, and operating an illegal enterprise across state lines. It was no longer just a scandal, it was a federal crime. At first, Vick denied everything, but as his co-defendants flipped and turned over damning details, including his direct role in financing the ring and personally killing dogs, Vick had nowhere left to hide. On August 23, 2007, he signed a plea deal admitting to conspiracy and killing dogs, though he claimed he never gambled on the fights himself. The next day, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell suspended him indefinitely and without pay. The empire collapsed overnight, endorsements vanished, the public fury was volcanic. Animal rights groups called for jail, fans burned jerseys, even teammates were stunned into silence. And on August 27th, Vick stood in federal court and pled guilty. His voice shook, his eyes were downcast. He said, "I offer my deepest apologies to everyone, and I will redeem myself. I have to." In November 2007, Vick turned himself into U.S. Marshals and began serving a 23-month sentence in a federal prison. No private jets, no roaring crowds, just concrete walls, metal bars, and a future in ruins. He lost nearly everything: his freedom, his fortune, his career, and for a moment, it looked like he might lose himself too. Years later, reflecting on that descent, Vick confessed, "There's no way of explaining the hurt and guilt that I felt. The first day I walked into prison, I knew the magnitude of the decisions that I made. I cried so many nights. This wasn't just a fall from grace, it was a free fall into infamy." The golden boy of the NFL had become its greatest cautionary tale, and the world wasn't sure if he'd ever rise. But Michael Vick didn't stay down for long. He couldn't, because legends don't vanish, they rise. Michael Vick's legacy is a story of brilliance and heartbreak, triumph and tragedy, a human story that cuts deep. He didn't just play quarterback, he shattered every expectation. But the same man who soared so high also fell so far. His involvement in illegal dogfighting wasn't just a scandal, it was a shattering betrayal, a dark stain that threatened to erase everything he'd built. The pain he caused was real, and he faced it with raw honesty, serving his time and confronting the wreckage of his choices. Looking back, Vick's regret is palpable. "I wish I had slowed down," he said, "not just on the field, but in life." He fought for redemption, not for applause, but for something deeper. Today, Michael Vick is more than a fallen star. He is a voice for change, a mentor who speaks openly about pain, responsibility, and hope. His legacy is unforgettable, not just for the records, but for the rise, the fall, and the courage to rise again. Michael Vick flew too close to the sun, felt the searing burn, and found the strength to keep moving forward. In the end, he changed the game. But more importantly, he changed himself. And that is the legacy that truly lasts. So, what do you think? Was Michael Vick's comeback one of the greatest redemption stories in sports history? A symbol of raw resilience, human growth, and unshakable talent? Or does the shadow of his darkest chapter still cling to his legacy, too heavy to ignore? His journey forces us to grapple with forgiveness, second chances, and the true cost of greatness. It's a story that still divides hearts and minds, a rise, a fall, and a rise again that left no one untouched. The question remains, how will history remember Michael Vick? If this story made you feel something, if it challenged you, Make sure to subscribe for more powerful stories that cut deeper than the scoreboard.